Hi guys, it's Ollie from Rad Season. I'm excited to be joined today by Britain's fastest snowboarder and Guinness World Record holder for the fastest person or fastest snowboarder being towed by a vehicle, Jamie Barrow. Jamie, thanks for coming on the show, man.
No, thank you, Ollie. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries, dude. And whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm in Bath at the moment. Always about here before going off to the mountains as much as I can. Obviously, not at the moment, so I'm stuck here in beautiful Bath.
And like, have you got a chance to go away, or is it like what's the situation like where you are?
I mean, I would love to right now. I'd love to go out in the mountains. I'm seeing all this stuff come up online with all these amazing shots of snow out there, and it being even dumping on the glacier. And I'd love to get out, but at the moment with the restrictions, I can't get out. I know some of the athletes on national squads are able to go with the officers and things, but for now it's for now I can't do much.
I know, and normally, I mean, would you be going away? You sort of go away around like October time, sort of like just before the winter kicks in, or so you would normally be going away around like sort of October, November time. Is that right? Hello? Hello, Jamie, can you hear me okay?
Oh, you're back. There you go.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, so I was just saying, you would normally be away this time of year, right? Jamie?
Yeah, back again. Sorry about that, Ollie.
No worries, man. All good. These things happen. So yeah, yes, I was just saying. So you would normally be you'd be away this time of year.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd get out as soon as I could, as soon as the snow fell, and I would be out at the moment. I've been trying to find every way to get out, and I just can't at the moment.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess we just got to sort of wait it out and yeah, go with what we have at the moment. And yeah, I'd love to, I guess, take it back to where you got into snowboarding, and you grew up in Switzerland, is that right? Hello?
Yeah, I'm back again.
Jamie?
I don't know what's happening. Yeah, you're right.
No worries. Having a bit of some Wi-Fi issues on either side of it. Yeah. So just saying.
Welcome to Bath. There are old buildings here, so they don't really have the best of internets. But yeah, go ahead.
That's okay, man. So you grew up in Switzerland, and was that was obviously where you got into snowboarding there, right?
Yeah, exactly. I started actually skiing from basically as soon as I could walk. At about 18 months old, 2 years old, I started to ski. And then at about 8 years old, got a bit annoyed about my brother always being a little bit quicker than me and always zooming off. He's 2 years older than me, and he'd always zoom off. And I got really annoyed at that. So I wanted to try to find something that I was better than him at. And that's why I tried snowboarding for the first time, and I've never looked back.
Nice. And was that something? Were you guys quite competitive then? And you were sort of, was he like pushing you and vice versa?
Yeah, my brother would always push me. from us in terms of the skiing and snowboarding side of things. Actually, funny enough, he actually doesn't really like skiing that much, to be honest. But I've always loved snowboarding, and I guess we're a little bit different like that, but we push ourselves nevertheless.
Nice. And then when did it happen? Like when you were thought, okay, like, you know, when you first decided to go into competitions, were you pretty young then?
Yeah, I mean, I never really, I was a very competitive.
Jamie.
Ridiculous. Yeah, let me get them back on my computer. I think this is going to be a little bit better than
sweet.
Video quality will be great, but the sound will be all right.
Cool, man. All good. Yeah. Yeah. So we were talking about like getting into skiing initially, and then going over to sort of moving on into snowboarding, and then how you and your brother kind of like the dynamic between you two guys when you were growing up.
Yeah, I mean, right now, me and my brother couldn't be more different, really, because my brother's taken the academic side of things. He did a PhD in physics, and he's done absolutely amazing down that side. Things worked at CERN, and I kind of took the sports side of things. But definitely, back then, my brother, we didn't get on that well back then, so we would always fight. And when we went skiing, because he was a little bit bigger at me at the time, he'd always go a little bit quicker. So it definitely pushed me to kind of try something a bit different, and so I could be better than my brother at something.
And when like when you first sort of, I guess, moved over from skiing to snowboarding, were you then looking at, was it freestyle, or was it kind of, were you racing, or?
Yeah, I was just getting into it before we cut off, but I was never really competitive at all, and so it was actually I never wanted to take it further. I just did it because I loved it, and I struggled quite a lot in school because I was dyslexic. And so snowboarding for me was kind of that opportunity to get away and kind of forget about things and just enjoy myself. And so one summer, actually, my parents signed me up to a snowboard camp up on the glacier. And what they didn't tell me until they started driving me up there was that it was actually the tryouts for the British junior snowboard team. Because they didn't tell me until driving up there, because if they asked me, I would have said no, because I was like, oh, I'll never be good enough, no, this. And they
were they stitching you up then, or like?
Yeah, exactly. So they were like, right, you're going along. Basically, I think it was just to kick me out the house, to be honest, over the summer months. So they signed me up to about, as we were already driving up, I was like, well, I might as well give it a go and try it. And I ended up spending a whole week doing freestyle snowboarding with the junior team, and absolutely loved it. I had so much fun, and I learned so much because it was the first time I really got proper coaching, and I was hooked with it. And then a few weeks later, I got the letter through the post saying that they'd like me to join the British junior snowboard team.
No way. And then, like, were you traveling around with them quite a bit then when that happened?
Yeah, or? I mean, yeah, I was quite young back then. I was 13, 14 years old. And I was traveling around on my own trip to go meet the team, and then go traveling around with them all over the world. to compete in junior level freestyle competitions.
That's amazing. Was that getting you out of school then at the time? I mean, that was...
Yeah, for the big competitions, yes, the training had to be obviously in the holidays.
Yeah.
But what was hard is at the time I was in school in Switzerland, and obviously they would tie in the trainings with the UK school system, the school holidays. So to get it linked up was a little bit hard. But yeah, it was an amazing experience at such a young age to be able to go travel and kind of experience all these things. So I mean, it made me have to grow up pretty fast.
Yeah. And then what happened? I mean, like going from freestyle and then joining the team at such a young age. Then you sort of, was that when you were like looking at border cross and sort of thinking, I wouldn't mind giving this a try? Or
well, it was actually because I did quite a few years in the junior squad for freestyle, because at that age you couldn't really join the main FIS border cross circuit because you had to be 16. Okay. To do it. So at the time, I was just enjoying the freestyle side of things, but I didn't do very well. I wasn't getting really any good results whatsoever in freestyle. At first, I was kind of thinking, you know what, it's just me starting off in competition. I'm not used to it. Let's go to it. And then I realized as I went on, I was like, really, it wasn't going well for me. So I was always, whenever my coach would be around and we go for a warm-up run, I would always be like zooming off, like straight lining the slopes. And he would always make me go off and do another run because he was like, that's not warming up. You've got to kind of properly warm up, not just straight line everything. So I was always had that little bit of going fast. And then I discovered border cross. And I saw them racing down this, all going so quick next to each other, all around these tracks, around the bank corners and jumps. And I was fascinated by it. And eventually they let me go have a day with the senior border cross team at the time. And I was hooked. And I picked it up quite quickly. I just felt like that was the right thing for me. So I started doing border cross from then on.
Nice. And then, yeah. So what happened there? I mean, like you were set on going to the Olympics, and like that was your core focus at that time, right? When you were involved with the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously at the start, I would never even have imagined going to the Olympics. I was nowhere near at that stage. I obviously, when starting, I was quite young against all the some of the Olympic athletes were competing against at the time. So I had absolutely no chance at that point, but I improved quite quickly. I started to get some better results. And even after a couple of injuries through it, I was still pushing to go to the 2014 Winter Olympics. Whether I would have made it or not, who knows? But literally in January 2013, which was the qualifying year for the 2014 Olympics, I first competition in, just went around a bank corner. My high back on my binding just broke, and it made me slide out and sit down really hard. And that was that. And it basically destroyed a disc in my lower back. And to be perfectly honest, it wasn't even a great crash. I mean, if it was going to be career ending, you'd want it to be like a full-on proper crash. And it wasn't. It was basically just a sit down, and it just crushed the disc in my lower back.
Oh my God. And then like, was that, I mean, with the doctors, like, that's it, you're not going to be competing again, or?
Yeah, exactly. So we had it all scanned, and I had injuries before with this, like in my neck before, and I'd overcome it. And so I knew it's just going to kind of come back and go, right, you've got to do some physiotherapy, you've got to rest up, you've got to do all these exercises, and you'll be back in a bit. But then the doctor came back and basically said that I would be in pain for the rest of my life. And it was, the injury was such so that they couldn't fix it naturally through physiotherapy and strength and conditioning. And it wasn't bad enough to go and operate on it. So I was kind of stuck in the middle where they couldn't do much about it. And basically they were like, you won't be able to run again, never mind snowboard again.
And how did you take that? Like, sort of hearing that news, I mean.
That was possibly, one of the hardest things for me. That was a really, really dark time. I think any athlete would tell you that I dedicated my whole life. I went to university. This was just after university. I timed everything. I went to university a year early to do a sports degree at Bath because they let me go with this grades because they wanted some sports people there. I timed it so I went a year early to do my degree and have a year's training before the Winter Olympics. So I've been planning this all for many years, and then to suddenly have it at the big break to get injured and told you'll never snowboard again when it was my life, it was really, really a hard thing to go through.
Yeah, and I mean, like what was the road to recovery? So I mean, like taking, like, I guess both mentally and physically from there.
I mean, basically, I couldn't move at the time, so I was all I was doing was kind of sitting on the sofa and having to rest it, and just seeing all my friends posting up photos of them going snowboarding, going skiing, being in the mountains, and it absolutely killed me. It absolutely killed me, and it was a few months went by, and I was going crazy because I had nothing else to do at the time, and snowboarding was everything. And it took me a few months to realize that I wanted to try to find a way to get back to snowboarding and but obviously I couldn't, with the injury, I couldn't compete against fully fit people because I couldn't do the jumps, I couldn't do any of the impact stuff, and basically shouldn't snowboard at all. But I wanted to try to find a way I could go back to snowboarding without it hurting as much. And so I injured myself in January 2013, and in April of the same year, I went and attempted to break the British snowboard speed record. Now, the reason behind this, everyone keeps saying, like,
as you do,
it's a stupid thing to kind of do, but there was actually some thought process behind this, because it was actually what I thought, right, the thing that's going to hurt the most is obviously the jumps, bumps, and like if you're turning, it puts a lot of pressure through the back. So I thought, well, if I just went straight down a slope for 20, 30 seconds, I could put up with the pain for that long. So that's how the idea came across, and I went for it, and I broke the record.
And like, I mean, did you do like, apart from your coach, when you were doing warm-up laps telling you not to go straight, was there any kind of like when you were doing border cross, were you doing anything else like alongside that? I mean,
no, I think I've always been wanting to go fast. No matter what I did, I was always doing some things. When I was on a bike or a skateboard, I would always try to go fast as possible. Thank God I didn't have a driver's license at that time, so I think I'd be a bit more not responsible with it. But I was always training. And then I actually remember there was how I got really hooked to that. Wow, I can go fast was actually when I was at the British Championships in Lax. I think Garmin or someone had like the speed attempt, so that you could use their tracker thing on their watches, and you could go measure your speed, and then you give it, and you'd be on the board. And I ended up going faster than anyone else, even the skiers and everyone. And I think I hit 110 kilometers an hour or something. On the Lax, right at the top of Lax, going down this speed slab, and I loved it. I loved the speed and everything about it, and I think that was probably the moment where I was like, I want to actually see how fast I could go.
And then, so where was the record set?
So, initially there was a few places we went to. There was in Verbier. They have it out there. That was when initially did it up in Montfort. And that was probably one of the scariest moments of my life. I can tell you that if anyone's been there.
No. So why is that so scary? Just the sheer.
I mean, if you go to Montfort, it's basically they have a black slope running beside it, and if you go at any other time when they don't have the speed track there, it's basically rocks. It's basically a cliff the whole way down. And somehow they make snow stick to it for this event. And there's a black slope next to it, which is full of moguls. That's the only way you stop from sliding down. And then they make this track next to it. So looking at it is so daunting. It is so steep. And obviously you don't really get any practice runs as well. So when I first went there, I'd never been on a speed track before. They hated snowboarders. I mean, I was told right before I did my speed run that a couple of snowboarders went along a couple of weeks before They didn't even go from the same start as I did. They weren't trying to go as fast. I think they ended up doing about 130 kilometers an hour. Both of them crashed and broke both their legs and went into comas. And I think that's the issue with speed snowboarding, and why it's so much more dangerous, is when you crash, you're still attached to the board. And at these speeds, you can clip the board and you'll just start tumbling. And I think with skis, even though they're on super tight with speed skiing, most of the time when a crash happens, they'll pop off and they'll slide to some extent, unless they go off. And it's, regardless, still scary, and it'll burn through their suit and things. It's not good. But snowboarding was a bit more dangerous. So when someone does fall, it's a lot more serious. And I was told this right before I did my run. So I was already scared enough as it was. I was going up for the first run. I had no practice runs. You're not allowed any practice runs. You're basically going, right, you're doing it or not. You're not allowed to turn on the track. So once you start going, you're not allowed to back out. It's like, you can't do anything. It's not like, okay, go too fast, Brett, let's do some turns and it's slow down. No, you're going the speed the slide takes you. So you start off a low one, and I went down, and I was so scared doing it. And I think I did about 140 odd kilometers an hour on the first run. And I was like, wow, that felt really good. And I was like, right, let me go do it again from the same start, because I was like, I feel comfortable, I can tuck in more, I can go faster, I feel good. Then they were like, oh, no, you can't go from that start anymore, you have to go higher. And I'm just kind of like, oh God, like, I can't do it, I'm not going to do that. It's way too, like, the speed will be insane. And eventually got convinced to go to it. And I think I was about to pull out, because it was the scariest thing ever from there, because there's no backing out. You have to go straight. And I think it was actually one of the film crew that radioed up to me right at the top, who eventually told me, he was like, you're going to get on with it then, or something like this comment. And I was like, well, I've got to go into it. Yeah, exactly. So I've got to get down the mountain somehow. I might as well go straight. And so I just went for it, and I ended up hitting 151.6 kilometers an hour.
Wow. And were you waiting up there for quite a while then before they radioed in? And
far too long. They hated snowboarders. So they let every single skier go. Even they let them have a couple of runs, some of them, right? So they would have a couple of skiers go down and keep going, and they'd just keep us there waiting. And then they were like, yeah, we're pretty much done. Yeah, go on then, go for it. You can go down. And this is after there's already tracks down it. And so you're wobbling between tracks as well, because they just let us go right at the end. But yeah, I think that was something I'll never forget when I came down to the bottom. So you have a big track, and then right at the bottom, you've got 100 meters where they measure the speed. So it's actually the average speed over 100 meters. It's not, your top speed is actually going to be higher than that, but to make it official, it's the average speed over 100 meters. So you got these two lines, and as soon as I passed the bottom line and it went flat, and I started to stand up to slow down, I think that was one of the best feelings I've had in my life, and that's what I got addicted to.
Yeah, amazing. And was that, so after that, were you thinking, okay, like, how can I push this? How can I go even faster than that? Or were you like was the high kind of, it lasted for a while, and then you thought,
I was straight back. I was like, right, how do I go faster? And so I was looking for places where I could go faster. I wanted to go back, and then they stopped the speed track in Verbier. And
because it was too sketchy, or?
Yeah. And well, I don't know. There was the snow struggling to get to it. Okay. And then there was, we started to go to a few other places that had options, but the speed we ended up going to was never going to be enough, really, because eventually they banned speed snowboarding on these tracks, because of on one of them, I was at the top and I actually watched one of the other snowboarders. You can classify as snowboarding, but they're ski boots, both feet facing forward, 3 meter long boards, and go down. So it's kind of a different category. But he crashed. And he went in 3-month coma, and there weren't many of us who do it. And so after that, it was kind of like, right, it's too dangerous to let the snowboarders go. And they stopped allowing it, and I was in Les Arcs, and then we weren't allowed to do it anymore, and that's kind of the little bit of a push to why I started doing the towed behind a car one, because I wasn't allowed to go on the fastest tracks in the world. I mean, things are kind of changing now. I'm sure you probably do it if you had a lot of money and reserved it for yourself, but that's not going to happen. But yeah, I needed to find a way to actually get up to those sort of speeds, and there isn't much any other option apart from being pulled. And it was actually, I went wanting to find out what records I could break. So I just searched the Guinness World Record site. I was like, right, what speed snowboarding records are there? And it just came up, and the Guinness World Record for the fastest speed on a snowboard towed by a vehicle. And I was like, and it was only at something like 90 kilometers an hour, the record. And I was like, most confident snowboarders could probably break that. They probably just didn't know about it. Anyway, we got permission to do it on like the small frozen lake in front of St. in Switzerland. Mm-hmm. We had a slow diesel car, but it was the thing we had at the time. We broke the record, but nowhere near as fast as I wanted to go. And then this kind of set me on a trend of constantly wanting to go faster. So after that, I came back again the following year. We had a Maserati to pull us. So we had the same track, but we had a much faster car. Didn't have the right tires though, or the track was just soft snow, but it had a faster car. So we're like, bam, and we broke the record again. And so we're like, yeah, but we could go so much faster. The track's not long enough. Because the problem with this record is to make it official through Guinness World Records, you have to do it in both directions. And it's the average speed of the two runs. This means that you can't just put your timing right at the end of the track. You have to have it in the middle. So it means you need twice as long of a track than you would do if you're just doing it one direction.
Yeah.
And so this was the issue, finding a long enough track. And then that's when I started searching everywhere, basically Google Maps, looking down on where are there lakes in cold areas. And Scandinavia was one of those places, and ended up finding an area in Norway that they did driving on ice and all this stuff, the crazy Scandies. And they got a few contacts to get through, and then eventually did a location scout, found the right place, and they made us about 3 kilometer long track to be able to do the latest one.
That's awesome. And that was earlier this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Right before lockdown, really. So it was the end of January, beginning of February. So we got in there before, which was lucky. And yeah, we went out to Gull in Norway, and they made us a 3 kilometer track, and it didn't exactly go to plan. I'll be fully honest. I had been planning this for over a year, way more than a year, just trying to get everything in place and the support to be able to do it.
I was going to ask you actually, about the planning with it.
I think what people don't understand about this record is people just think you get a car, you tie a rope to the back of it and go for it. But actually, to get the place and actually get everything officially and get it approved by Guinness World Record, there is so much organization. You're running a massive event to make it happen with all the witnesses from, you get the police there, it's really quite hard to organize and to train for it, because you can't really train for it until you're there. And so, yeah, we've been filming a documentary about this whole thing, about what it actually takes to break a world record. And it's going the highs and lows of it for sure. Because I was planning to go and break this, and my target was to break 200 kilometers an hour on this trip. Planned for over a year, turned up on the day, ready to go, and there was a low layer of fog over the whole track. And so we couldn't run in the morning. So we're there sitting in the car. It was minus 14, minus 16 there on a lake. So there's nothing stopping the wind and anything. So it was bitterly cold on this thing. And so we're sitting in the car, keeping warm, and eventually it started to lift. We couldn't see the whole track, but we were like, yeah, we can go for it. It's fine. Let's go for it. And so I got out the car, put my helmet on, strapped in, went for it. And it was really just a stupid thing, because I was so kind of like wanting to go for it, and I didn't think everything through. And everyone will know probably this, that if you go out from a warm car into cold outside, once we started going, I don't know if anyone's ever had this with the goggles, but once we started going, all the snow and spray got stuck to the lens of my goggles. And so I basically, while I was going along, slowly went blind. Bearing in mind, this was my first run of the day, so I had not even tried the track yet. So I had no idea kind of where the space was, but we thought, let's just go for it.
And was that when you were like building up speed as well, or like?
Yeah, so it was accelerating. Keep going.
You're just
up,
going blinder.
And it just slowly just go. I couldn't even see my hand holding onto the rope, and I didn't know how fast I was going. We'd never done a run yet, so we didn't know how long it would take me to get to where the timing gates go. And he starts slowing down. The communication between us wasn't working, so I couldn't tell him to slow down. So all he was going for is like, yeah, let's go for it. And he just kept accelerating. This Tesla, we had a Tesla at the time. It really flies. And so we quickly got up to speed, but I was completely blind. And if I went too much to the left, I would go onto the ice where the car was, and that would just be the end. If I went too far to the right, would be off the track. And so I had no idea where I was. And it was starting to go fast. He wasn't slowing down. I didn't pass the thing. I was like, how long can this go on for? And then I just couldn't take it any longer. I couldn't keep going because I would have ended up crashing anyway. So I had to let go. And when I let go, because at this point, it was 180 kilometers an hour. We were going at 180 kilometers an hour, and I had to let go. And as soon as I did, the wind just pulled my right shoulder back because I was reliant on the car pulling me up from there. Once I let go, it just pulled my right shoulder back, and it just made me turn. And the last thing I remember is falling over, and I thought that was the end of me. I was like crashing. People have died from much slower speeds, and I ended up, flipping. Well, no one actually was able to see it, so we had a photo of where I went into the powder off to the side, and there's just me, like you can see the marks in the snow, the ragdolling. For over 100 meters, and bearing in mind you're on flat, so on a slope you'd carry on going down, but on the flat you'd slow down quicker, and I still went for over 100 meters crashing, from where I first hit to where I ended up, and I was knocked out cold, and I was just lying on the floor, and because the fog was still there, the guys in the center of the track where the timing gates were and the film crew, they didn't know I'd crash. All they saw was the car come past without me attached to it. And they were like, what are they?
Where's Jamie?
Are they just doing a test run or something? And then the driver was slammed on his brakes, but you can't slow down very quick on ice. And he was going 180 kilometers an hour. So took so long to come to a stop, and he radioed through saying he's down. And then everyone rushed. And I had no idea. I thought they were there within about 30 seconds of me crashing, but when we looked at the video footage with my helmet camera, we found out I was down for a good few minutes before anyone could get to me because it's such a big track. And that was definitely the scariest moments of my life to date. That was, and so I got up and surprisingly was all right. I've no idea how. I mean,
you're kidding. So nothing broken or anything?
Nothing broken. I mean, I was knocked out, so I had a splitting headache and was a bit shaken up. But I kind of once I kind of came to and was like, got my bearings and things, and I was kind of, with a bit of help, stood up, and then I was kind of like I'm actually okay.
I'm alive.
And I don't know if that's anything, but I was wearing all the force field body armor and stuff, so that probably did help. But it was definitely kind of a shock to me, going like, how the hell am I walking away from this? So we took about an hour. We were just kind of resting. Like, I was having to lie down for a bit, and the whole crew kind of going like, well, what the hell do we do now? Like, we've come all the way out here, years planning what we do, and I was like, I can't do another run. I can't do it. My head's not straight. My balance isn't there. And then after the hour, I eventually came to, and I was like, do you know what? I can't do this whole year's planning and not go for it. So eventually come to it. And I was like, I'm not going to do lots of runs. I want to just floor it now. I changed my lenses, and I was like, I want one run, go for it. And
did you have like a mad headache? I mean, you must have been. Just coming out.
I was not in a good state at that point, but I was like, I've got to try it. Like, I would really be kicking myself if I didn't. And just as things can get worse, so I went for it. I was like, floor it, and then we went past the timing gates much faster, and I was like, much faster than before. So happy. And then the radio came through saying, I think we've got a problem, because it said you were doing like over 300 kilometers an hour going through this thing, which is not the case. We were not doing 300 kilometers an hour. So the timing gates, they didn't work. So they worked on all the test runs with all the car. But when we went over this certain speed, when we started going even faster, they took an error and they weren't calculating the speed accurately. So after all that, we did it. And then so we let the car go back. So that run didn't count because it wasn't the return run. I wasn't attached to it. We're like, let's test it. Didn't work again. And eventually I was like, look, let's just go through it, get the speeds, get the calculation. We'll sort it out later. Went for a run. It wasn't as fast as we did before. I came back again, got it anyway. And then eventually, right at the end of the day, sun had gone down. They eventually calculated that, oh, wait, we can, the timing gates were still measuring the time it took. So time when it went through this and stopped there through the second. So you have two lasers, basically, the time it took you to get between the two lasers over the 100 meters. So even though it didn't calculate the speed correctly, it still took accurate time. So then we had to go down and manually calculate the speed based on the time it took me between the 2 points, divided by like over 100, distance divided by time, right? And calculate the speed that way. And we had the policeman there who verified it, and eventually Guinness World Records accepted it.
That's awesome.
But it did mean
it's good that they could do it.
Yeah, I mean, I was really nervous because they're really strict Guinness World Records with these things. But we had the policeman there, and he was the chief, so he was able to really help out with that. But again, like, because of the frustration with everything, we never really went for a full-on run. With the crash and then all this stuff. We never really went for it properly. We could have done a lot more. And so eventually my top speed of the day was 183 kilometers an hour. Bearing in mind, I'd crashed on the first run at 180 on the first run. We could have gone so much faster. And
did you just feel the pressure of, like, you know, because everyone was there, you thought, okay, I've got to do this. I can't postpone frankly, it until the next day? Or
well, we couldn't postpone it. We had just one day on the track. I was asking that. I was like, can we do this tomorrow?
Yeah.
Timing guy had other events to go to, so he had to go. We had no other way of doing it. And the track was prepared for that day. We'd have to pay out a lot more money to get it prepped for another day. And so we just didn't have that as an option. And yeah, in hindsight, we're going to definitely plan it so we get sure we have a few days on it. But yeah, we had no other option. And for me, it was nothing about anyone else being there. It was me who had planned this whole thing. I'd done everything, the whole organization. I'd be being myself at training and all this stuff for this. I wasn't going to let it go without breaking this record. So I just wanted to break the record so that it wasn't completely wasted, and then come back again the following year, which will be next year, to actually fully go for it and break it. Fourth time lucky, right? I mean, I've broken it 3 times. I'm happy, but I'm just competing against myself here. I know I can go faster. I know I can, and that's what I will do.
And what's your main goal? Is it to beat that time, or you want to hit the 200 kilometers per hour?
Oh no, 200 is definitely my first target. I want to break the 200. There is like the world record now downhill. I guess it's snowboarding, but in ski boots, and like I said, both feet facing forwards. I mean, whether you want to classify that as snowboarding or not, I don't know. But unfortunately, Guinness World Records do classify it into the same thing. They're a lot more aerodynamic. There is a speed downhill at I think 203 kilometers an hour. So I want to go faster than that in soft boots and normal bindings to go over that, beat it, and be the fastest person ever on a snowboard.
That's cool. And like what's the preparation? So from now until, you know, when you guys are going to try and set this record?
Well, the great thing about it is now we've got a great location. We've got a great team. I mean, the Norwegians are absolutely crazy. Like, they're crazier than me. Like, they love this sort of stuff. They encourage it. Like, every single time we did it in like Switzerland and things like this, they're like, oh no, you need a permit for this. They're like, no, go ahead, go do it, go faster.
And they built you the track, right?
I mean, and they built me the track. They're like, go crazy. Like, so they're absolutely crazy. So I love that about it. So we've got a great location. We've got great support out there for the guys that letting us do it there. And so basically it's now trying to drum up some sort of financial support to be able to go out and do it and actually make the track. And if we get that, then we can go for it. I've done training. I'm just training in the gym as much as I can. Obviously they're closed now, which doesn't help things, but got a few bits of weights here and there that I can keep pushing. And then we just have to plan it out better, because with having a few days on the track, and that's going to be my training basically. But I've got loads of other things planned at the same time. I mean, this is just one of my crazy ideas, become fastest snowboarder in the world. That is one of my ideas. And then basically going through what I could do out in Norway, we met a guy who, he has like some planes out there. And so we're going to get towed behind a plane, like a flying plane, going down the lake. Another Guinness World Record I broke was the greatest vertical distance snowboarded in 12 hours. So I did non-stop up and down for 12 hours on this one slope out in Switzerland. And it nearly killed me. And Guinness World Records rejected the evidence because I tripled the record. And they didn't believe we could have tripled it. And even we gave them all the evidence with 20 odd witnesses coming through this whole thing with the times at the top and bottom. They didn't believe it. And so we're actually going to be attempting that again, but in Norway, and actually also going for the 24-hour record. So non-stop snowboarding 24 hours. And we'll see how that goes.
So, like, essentially, there'll be 4 records, the 4 different records that you're trying to break.
The plane one's not one. So I've got towed behind a car is one of them. The greatest vertical distance, 12 hours. Greatest vertical distance, 24 hours. And then also a bit of a crazy one is a world record that hasn't been challenged since 1998. Is the fastest speed on a snowboard down a bobsleigh track. So we're going to try to attempt that. However, that's just crazy. I don't know how they even did it before, but the track they did it on, which was the fastest track, they said no to us to do it, because that was back in the day when they had no health and safety. But of course, Norway, they're like, yeah, come, let's do it. So the track isn't as fast, but I think it will just be fun to give it a go anyway.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And then I've got all these other records I'm doing on sand. So I'll do like sandboarding records. I've got indoor records all planned. Mm-hmm. So lots of stuff in the pipeline. It just needs the support to make it happen.
Yeah, and are you gonna try and base yourself in Norway for a bit when you're doing that, or is it?
I'll be out there for a few weeks. That's basically it. We're going to do some other filming and things like this, but we're just going to have to see how it goes. We want to be out there as long as we can, and we might have to go out a couple of trips. It all depends on the support, like the financial support we can to go out there and do it. Mm-hmm. And so if we get it, then we would love to stay out there for longer periods of time. I know the driver for the record is absolutely amazing as well, Nicky Faulkner. He is an absolute legend. He does all the filming and things with Grand Tour and Top Gear and all this stuff. So he does all the precise driving for those sort of things in great Hollywood films. So we're very lucky to have him on board, and he's a snowboarder as well. So being out there with him, we want to spend a little bit more extra time, actually, him teaching me to drift cars, me going out snowboarding with him. We want to enjoy ourselves a little bit as well.
Nice one, man. And with the funding, I mean, are you doing any self-funding? Because in the summertime, like over in England, you've got another business as well, right? So you restore property.
Yeah, right? I have a couple of things going, businesses and things, but one of the main ones is property development, because basically during the summer months, I was not busy in the snowboarding scene. I didn't have quite enough money to go out to New Zealand, so the support to go out to New Zealand, the Southern Hemisphere. So I was stuck in Bath, and the rent here was so much. I kind of wanted to try to find a way to start making money off it. And so I eventually got some funding, and I was able to buy my first place, and it kind of started developing, flipping properties here in Bath, very small 1-2 bedroom flats, but it kept me busy, and I really enjoyed doing it, and it gave me somewhere to live. And it was it's been a lot of fun. I've been doing that for 6-7 years.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
because I saw I'm not sure if it was this year or if it was last year, but there was a bit of press going around with you restoring it was Restored Dungeon in Bath, and like, you know, how you were turning these kind of like medieval places into, you know, modern apartments. And yeah, I thought it was pretty cool.
It was the funniest thing, because I think I got more press out of that than any of my crazy world records I did, because I found this old basement, sub-basement of this grade 1 listed property, and it was completely derelict, absolutely disgusting. And over a few years, I was able to develop it into a very nice. That's where I am at the moment. I'm in that flat now. I'm staying here now, which is quite nice. It's been nice over lockdown, as it has a garden and things. And yeah, it just went absolutely viral. I mean, I was getting contacted from people over in Japan having this thing. We just had someone contacted me saying that it's over in a magazine in Afghanistan. It went crazy in Poland, Japan, everywhere. Lad Bible took it on. Daily Mail went with it. We had literally everything under the sun. It just went completely crazy with it, which was amazing. I like people appreciating it. I mean, they're definitely the press twisting the words of a dungeon. It definitely wasn't a dungeon. Yeah. It was just, I mentioned it in one. I said it.
I thought that would be a little bit clickbaity, you know, when there's all that.
Yes, in one of the interviews, I basically said it was like a dungeon down there. And they basically went with that. That's welcome to the press, right? It doesn't look like much of a dungeon right now.
No, exactly.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love it. And I kind of keep all my money in the property side of things, because it's all investment stuff. So yeah, in terms of my funding and things, we'll go cross things over to snowboarding. I rely solely on my sponsors and people supporting it, and any video, selling the videos and stuff afterwards. So that's all I rely on to be able to do these records. It's great working with amazing companies as well that want to work with you to do these things, because it does push you to do more, you to be better.
Nice. So you reckon, obviously we're like travel permitting, that you'll be able to get out early next year? And then you'll be training in the meantime.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just training in dryland stuff. So just gym work, weights and running and things like this here, much as I can do, really. And then as soon as I can get out, I'm hoping to go back to my parents in Switzerland over Christmas. And then if I can do that and the quarantine things are all right, hopefully I'll be able to get on my board while I'm out there, depending on how things are out there at the time. But if not, so these world records are kind of booked in for the same time next year. So end of January, February. So I'm hoping to be able to do them then. And if that's the case, then it'll be amazing. But I'm not holding my breath on it by the sounds of it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it happens. Just got to see. Cool. Yeah,
definitely.
And what's the best way for everyone to follow what you're up to?
Best way, definitely through Instagram and even videos through YouTube. So Instagram is Jamie Barrow _GB. And through my website, I'll be posting up through everything. So do get in touch if you've got any questions. I know most of the things people send through to me are asking about waxing tips and how to go faster, anything tips like this. So because I know everyone out there has actually they've always got like that Ski Tracks app on their phone, and they always want to find out how fast they are. So if you need any tips or anything like this about how to go fast, do let me know.
Cool, man. I'm just curious about the plane as well. And like, I know you've done that before, like being towed by a plane, and that's kind of
the plane one was because we did it before, but literally the day before we were meant to do the Swiss authorities took away our permissions to let the plane take off and stay low with me still attached. And so we had to keep the plane on the ground, which was just really frustrating because we couldn't go that fast. behind it. We still did 125 kilometers an hour, but we wanted to go a lot faster. But now with the Norwegians, they really don't care. They don't care at all. They were like, they're probably drunk doing it, but it'll be a lot of fun. So now we've got a smaller plane. It's basically a plane with skis, tie a rope to the back of it, and just have fun. See how it goes. I just basically come up with the craziest ideas and then try to make them happen. That's
amazing. It's cool. And, you know, like, I mean, are you thinking of like different ideas the whole time? Then are you like, okay, right?
No,
like, there's got to be something like say if in January you can go and you can do all these, and you manage to get the records. Are you then thinking, all right, well, have you got some in your back pocket? You're like, oh, you know, like next season I can try that. And
I've got so many things I want to give a go. And again, it just comes down to the support to actually make them happen. If I had unlimited funds, God, I would be the things I'd do would be so much fun. But yeah, I did that one video with the electric jet engines across the frozen lake. This inventor wanted me to be a test dummy with these jet engines being pulled across a frozen lake, and stuff like this is something I love. I think there's also stuff with, I don't know if you've seen this come up. You must have. This was it flight boarding or something like this. The guy getting towed behind a plane on basically a wing board.
Okay, yeah.
And he gets towed behind going through the clouds and things like this. And I was in contact with them to be the test dummy to do that. But I don't think that's happening anymore. They needed the financial support to make it happen. But yeah, any crazy idea. And of course, if anyone has any crazy ideas, shoot them across. I'd love to give them a go.
Awesome. Cool, man. It's been great speaking to you, and we'll definitely be following what's going on, and hopefully, after lockdown, you can get out there.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I really look forward to it.
Cool. Thanks, Jamie.
No, thank you.
Cheers, man.